Okay, so welcome to part two. Hopefully in this shot you can see two of the solar panels that I use. The one to your left is the 100 watt 12 volt, comprised of two 50 watt panels parallel together, and to the one to the right is the 12 volt 25 watt panel. They both have the same connectors at the back, which enable me to connect it up to the battery box, and I'll show you those now. Which is the original battery charger solar panel I used, was this one here. It is 25 watts, I think. Yeah, 24 watts, 12 volts. And at the back of it, coming straight out, I've got the power pole connectors that I use for all my gear. And I've also connected this little charger controller. It was only a cheap one, cost about £7. Got it off eBay. And if I wanted to connect this directly to another battery to charge up without using any fancy circuitry or any other gadgets I'm using, just directly to another battery, this is absolutely ideal. I'm not sure whether that's any good as a solar charger. I've never really tested it or heard much about them. So I don't know whether it's, going to do a good job and look after your batteries or not. I'm not sure. But either way, this is the one that I did used to use. So that panel there, using the same leads, can I just get down to this thing here? So using this lead that I made up, turn the battery on. So I plug that into there to charge, and I'm assuming at this stage that you've actually seen the video talking to you about the battery pack. And then plugging this straight into the panel, not connecting it to that charge controller unit there because it's using this one here. So straight from the panel, straight in, and it's charging nicely. Now with this panel and this setup I've got here, it doesn't show me the power input. I know it's 12 volts obviously. I know in theory what the current's going to be. However, you don't actually know what it's drawing. But it's only going to be pretty much like a trickle charge. So for general use, if it's for camping equipment and it's just to top up the battery just for lighting equipment and charging your phone up, this small portable one will be absolutely ideal. You don't need a lot more than this just to charge or keep those sort of charged up. For heavy use, if I'm using my radio gear, that's when you need something bigger like the 100 watts. So here are my new panels. This is how they are. 50 watt panels, two of them, and they've just been hinged together. As you can see, hopefully this side here. I paid £105 off eBay for these. I used to have just a single panel which was 100 watts, which you'll probably notice if you see my other video. I did a video about a year ago on a camping trailer. And it had just the one single 100 watt panel on the roof of the trailer, which charged up some marine batteries, kept those charged up, and I use those for camping. I preferred the idea of this one because it's a bit more portable. If I'm going to go off and do some radio work, go out camping, wherever, you want something that's fairly portable, and the one big single panel was a bit too big and clumsy just to throw into the back of your car. This seemed to make a lot more sense. So if I carefully just undo this and show you, just undo the two little brackets. Try not to smash the glass table I'm on. And you're left with this configuration here. These two undo and then rest up like so, obviously facing the sun. On the back of the panels, no fancy wiring, just literally two from each panel go into the one. I've done a bit of a temporary job with the connector block here, and then that is the same as the other buddy pole connectors, or the power pole connector, sorry, and it'll just power straight up to your system. So to show that plugs straight into there. And then with this, then you can move it to wherever you want, like so. So with these two panels, we've got 100 watts. Now, one of the problems with solar panels is that if you get shading over, say, this just panel here, you're going to drastically reduce the amount of power that this is going to generate for you. So if this was just a single 100 watt panel, a tree or a shadow of a car or anything that's blocking one of these panels, if this was a single 100 watt, would drastically reduce the amount of power you're going to get, possibly up to 50%. As it is at the moment, because I've got 2 panels and these are 50 watts each, wide in parallel, if I get shading on this one panel, it's not going to affect that panel at all, so you're guaranteed to get your 50% or your 50 watts power from there. And you're also going to get probably about half the power from this. So you're still looking at getting about 75% of your power coming through. So from a practical point of view, for carrying it around and to loading up into the boot of your car and being able to collapse and to move it quite easily, it also seems to make a bit more sense with regards to obstructions of the sun and getting the best power that you can get for this sort of size. Like I say, my 100 watt panel was actually a little bit bigger than this, and I was just at a single unit. This one I think is going to be a lot better for me. And I can just look at my power here. The battery's charged on this now, it's flashing away nicely as being loaded and charged, ready to go. I've still got to do the rewiring on this, which I'm going to do over the next few days. I want to get this up and running properly. A bit later on I'm hoping to pack it all up and go off for the day and do some radio work on Cannock Chase. I'm going to be doing a video on that, showing you a homemade antenna that I made using an old flagpole and some cables and a homemade balun that I've made. So hopefully that'll be a bit later on today if I can get out. Well, that's just basically what I've got to show you. I can connect the smaller panel up to all this as well if I wanted to, using the adapter plugs to combine. But for an extra 20 watts, I don't really need it for what I use it for. If I'm using my radio, if I'm using it on 5 watts or to 50 watts, this is putting in ample power to keep the battery fully charged, as well as if it's a nice day, I can plug in my cool box, my electric cool box, and still draw power from that, and still have sufficient for what I use, just using these panels here. So they're fairly small, you can easily just rest them in the front of your car whilst you're doing your work. And it doesn't take a lot of setting up at all. It's very simple, very quick to do, and it makes a great power solution. Draining your battery car, or your car battery rather, I've done that a few times and had problems starting it afterwards. And with my setup, if I have the engine running and I try to draw the power off the car, I get a lot of interference on HF. So that's not a suitable option at all. At the moment, this is one of the better options that I've had. So lead acid batteries, solar power, and that does me fine. Okay, any questions, any comments, please note them down below. And hopefully very soon you'll see a third part, which is all this configured, wired, set up with all my radio gear working as well. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.